You're with ACT now, which is, I mean, it's an organization sort of independent of the APC, but you support the APC. Are there things you see the campaign doing now that you want to see done differently, maybe that you would bring if you were part of the campaign?
If I was part, we are part of the campaign, we probably should say that. And what ACT now has done over the months is try to redirect, campaign to the issues. It's now gone beyond you're crazy, you're stupid, I don't like your face. It's gone to the fact that education, there's a problem. 137 billion is how much the US and UK embassies say that a population of Nigerians used to spend their, is the cost that they used to send their children to the US and the UK every year. This is minus the cost that they used in schools in Canada, Ghana, and that is a problem. Why is it that the UNESCO advocates 26%, that of national budgets should be allocated to education, yet Nigeria allocates just 8%, and yet we constitute 20% of Africa's population. So there are issues, and that's what ACT now has we've redirected, we've tried as much as possible to redirect the issues, the campaign back to issues. Issues on education, issues on unemployment, issues on health, the serious issues, because that's the only way we can move Nigeria forward if we don't deal with the statistics and the data, basically. So that's what actually.
Speaking of issues now, on what issues do you think these elections are going to be won? That's if issues are that important.
Well, jobs, that's a major one. So a lot of our policies are centered around jobs. Nigeria has one of the highest youth unemployment in the world. I mean, you can imagine so we have a large number of people who are potential recruits for Boko Haram, potential recruits for kidnapping, potential recruits for potential victims of child trafficking. So jobs is one of the major ones, and there are lots of policies that are looking to tackle jobs. So we have the free meal for the school children. What do we hope this will do? Which is already actually being done in Essien State. So instead of you being on the street, hawking, your parents will send you to school knowing that when you go to school, you're going to get a free meal. What does this do for the farmers? It means that now the Just Farm government buys initiative is going to be kicked in effectively, because farmers knew that just keep producing, the government is going to buy it. The women in the community, you have jobs, you have to cook, because there are lots of schools that you're going to have to feed. So this is a knock-on effect. So this is jobs, employment, the economy, and security as well, because the kids that would otherwise be on the street are now in the classrooms. And then there's a whole lot of, we have the healthcare as well, being able to provide the health insurance scheme. At the moment, we have one of the highest infant mortality rates in the world. So that's one thing that we're hoping to tackle, especially as women. So, we're hoping that with the APC policy, we already know that it's going to be in place, but we're hoping that we can spread the word across to all women, knowing that, we're going to tackle the issues. So at the moment, about 55,000 women die every year, before, during, or after childbirth. So this is another major issue. And
So I want you mentioned security there, and I wanted to go back to that, because before any of these things, we have to be alive to enjoy all of these jobs.
Exactly, I agree.
The economy and all of that. And it looks like it is the biggest issue right now in the country. The Northeast, Mr. President seems to be having some control over it again. But we can't ignore the fact that in the last week, the news of ISIS being collaborating with Boko Haram has come up a lot. What does that portend for the future? The Niger Delta might be boiling again if the general wins, because they've made allegations, or allegedly made allegations to that effect. Are there any deliberate plans by the APC to handle all of these things?
Well, yeah, there are. I mean, if you go through the manifesto, there's going to be a war on terrorism. As you agreed already, there's been a difference in the last 2 weeks to what we've seen in the last years. So we've waited for close to 10,000 people to die from terrorism. We've waited for close to 30,000 people to be displaced. So now with the APC government, proper not just allocation to defense, but we're going to actually follow through to see that it's being implemented. You have to, the security is everything. So we have plans of having the state-of-the-art training as well, state-of-the-art equipment to fight terrorism, amongst many other things that will be done.
Perhaps we should come in and say, well, with the APC policy, part of what they've said is state policing. That is going to be really effective with security in Nigeria. As it is now, the federal government, controls the police, controls the army, and they get blamed for all of those things. So state policing,
There's a lot of fears about governors hijacking that. How are you going to check that?
Well, this is not to say that state policing is not going to come with some of its own issues. But I've heard Professor Shibaju say that, how can you, come to Enugu, for example, and you send policemen from Kano, who are not familiar with the language. How are they going to gather intelligence to be able to solve armed robbery, issues, So how are they going to be? So there has to be, physical and realistic, solutions to the problems, and that's part of what the APC government plans to do as regards.
We're still sticking with you now, and I want to talk anti-corruption because it's also one of his biggest selling points. Yes. He's supposed to be the credible candidate.
Yes.
And I like to ask this question a lot whenever I meet people from the APC. Without naming names,
okay.
People around the general these days have a lot of people saying, these guys are not necessarily the most credible people. How do they make their money? How are they funding this campaign? Are they using state funds? How is he going to reconcile that as president with all those people around him?
General Buhari.
You did that on purpose,
No, I did not. General Buhari has said, that he has absolutely zero tolerance for corruption. And I understand he has said this to some of these people that we're not going to name names about. And he has said that because he wishes to move the country forward, he's not going to go after people who are quote unquote corrupt. So the plan is he enters government May 29. From May 30th, if you're in charge of public funds and you're found, there's some sort of corruption, regardless of what party you are, you will be prosecuted. That's the stance, and he has, he said it boldly that, nobody's going to be confused about what his stance is on corruption. He's going to go after anybody or everybody. Okay,
very last words now. A lot of people have said they don't know who to vote because both parties seem to be the same piece in the pot. For those people watching now, very quickly in one sentence, why should they decide for the APC?
Because it's change. It's a new deal for Nigeria. Relief, reform, rehabilitation. This is what we need. There are critical issues for us as young people. Our life is at stake. The lives of our children are at stake. Our reputation is at stake. Everything is at stake. Jobs, healthcare, security, and the economy.
I like how I said one sentence and you went on.
I know.
Thank you very much, guys.
Okay.
It was nice having you here. Hopefully we'll get people
much,
from the PDP next week to also talk on what their party has in store for us. Thanks for joining us. As I always say, you can join the conversation on Twitter at YNigerTV is the handle. The hashtag to follow is Rubbin Minds. You can also visit the website yniger.com/TV. Remember, you've never seen young people talk like this before. I'll see you next week.
What else?